Y'all, welcome back. This is our extended version, and I have my guest, Michelle Cooper. She is the CEO and founder of Alchemy Accounting and Bookkeeping. She is also a business owner powerhouse, a podcast host, an international speaker, and an author. We have been having so much fun today over on BBTV. We did the show, and now we are shooting you some exclusive content that you can only find here. And with that, I just want to say, Michelle, thanks for coming on, for giving us a little bit more of your time. I know your time is so valuable. And one of the topics I love to cover when we cover our extended information is the topic of like health, wellness, relationships. And let's dive in. Talk to me about what is the best relationship advice you've ever gotten?
Oh my God. I feel like I am not the best with like romantic relationships, right? Okay. And sometimes I felt like I'm not a great friend, right? Like, feel like I could be better in that area. But, I think that the best relationship advice I've ever got is like communicate, like over communicate, right? Because I think sometimes, I know for me, I just assume people know what's going on in my head. Like, how would they, right? And I haven't been the best at communicating clearly, frequently, kind of thing. And I remember maybe a couple of months ago, one of my best friends lives across the country, in Ontario. And I sent her a WhatsApp because we talk a lot, but we hadn't talked for about 2.5 weeks. And we were both just really busy and stuff, right? But at the same time, I was feeling kind of like weird about what was going on in my life. I was feeling a little like, kind of like wanting to just hide under the covers kind of energy, you know, like hibernating energy. And so I actually was out walking my dogs and I sent her a WhatsApp. I didn't feel like calling her and telling her because I thought I would get distracted in the conversation. And I said, you know, I just want you to know, like, I really value our friendship. And here's what I'm going through right now. I don't feel like being around a lot of people. I don't feel like talking about my feelings and everything that's going on. Like, there's some stuff I'm working through and I just need some time. And so it's not that I don't want to talk to you or I'm avoiding you or anything. I'm just like in a little bit of feels like hibernating energy. And what she sent back to me, she didn't call me, right? She actually, and she's a great communicator. She WhatsApped me back and she's like, thank you for sending me that because I was starting to wonder if there was something that I had done to upset you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I feel so good in telling her that because there was absolutely nothing she had done.
Right.
It was all me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You know, it's so interesting because I feel like I have some really wonderful friends in my life who also would say, I'm not always the greatest friend. I'm not always this about themselves. And I love to remind those friends that, like, that's what friendship is. Friendship is not that we have to communicate every day or that we have to be sending each other memes all day long. That can certainly be a part of friendship, but also life, like life happens. And I think real friendship is understanding that that's the case. And so when I might have I had a girlfriend a few weeks ago who was like, hey, I'd love to see you. I'm in town. I really need some Mary time. I was like, no problem. I'm around all weekend. And I kind of went about the weekend and I know her, like when she wants to see me, she really wants to see me and she shows up. And so I didn't really hear from her. And I was like, oh, do I call her? And I was like, you know what? I said, I'm going to give her space. And I'm just going to allow her, you know, to do whatever it is she needs to do. And so she ends up coming back to me like after the weekend. She's like, oh, Mary, she's like, my weekend just got away from me. And I just ended up having like all this havoc. And so she's explaining in the same way you are. She's kind of communicating after the fact. And she's like, please don't think I'm flaky. Please. I was like, oh, honey. I was like, I didn't think that at all. I said, if
Mm.
anything, I was like, hey, there's probably something going on in her world and she needs the space, because if she doesn't, she'll know to come over. If she needs a hug, she's going to come over here and get the hug. If she needs some space and has got other stuff, then that's okay too. And
Yeah.
like, just the that's part of friendship, I think, is also on the other end of it, being able to be like, hey, I was thinking about you and I care about you, and like, I'm glad you've let me know so that I can, whatever it is, send you good energy, give you space, or show up with a bottle of wine, whatever it needs to be, you
Right.
know. And I think we over exaggerate what needs to happen in relationships in order for them to be a certain way. You know, it's like, oh, I didn't call them this month. It's like, man, I've got friends that it's literally been, it can be years, which we don't even realize it's been years. And all of a sudden we reconnect again, or, you know, whatever, they show up into town or I'm showing up into town, and then we just pick up right where we left off. And it's great and it's fine because we're both living our lives. And that's all of us, right? We're all living our lives. And that's such an important piece of it, of being able to be in relationships, and also not having the pressure of having to be the, you know, the friend that's constantly, you know, tagging everyone or showing up or doing the this or the that or organizing all the things. So, you know, it's kind of like our conversation on the other show, which is, you know, the pressure of money and finances and all the pressure that we put on ourselves. I think that this is just also one more spot where there's a label that we kind of slap on ourselves, you know, about how like, oh, I've got to be this heavy duty friend, you know, that overgives or whatever. And it's like, no, like that's where I go. My real friendships are the ones that are actually the most effortless, because we don't have these high expectations on each other. It's like, hey, like, I love you and I'm here for you, and also live your life, because that's the best gift you can give people, I think, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't do well in relationships of any kind where there's like this guilting that goes on, you know, like you didn't text me back right away, or I have a friend who does that, where it's like, if you don't respond to his text within like 5 minutes, like he's all upset about something and offended. And it's like, dude, I got stuff going on. Like, for sure. If you need an answer on something right now, but I don't know what you would, right? Like, we're not living in each other's pockets.
We're not heart surgeons. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but you know, like anything can wait. When I text people or send people whatever, I'm not expecting them to jump around and answer me right away. Right. Yeah. Like, unless we're like, oh, we're meeting in 5 minutes. Where are you? Or are you near? Or something like that. But you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Don't do well with guilt.
Yeah. Oh, same. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so done with any guilt or shame, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. It's like, I'm out.
And I love that, even the communication piece around text messaging, because I think that is also another one, right? Text messages, phone calls, whatever you want to call them. And one caveat that I love to give into new relationships, especially like now I'm dating. So it's like, okay, you know, if I'm dating someone new, it's like, how can I make this easy on both of us? Is I always love to say, I want to take all the pressure off of this for both you and me. And can we just agree that if I'm going to give you my number and we're going to start text messaging each other, that like, just know that like I'm at my best and I'm going to respond to you when I have the opportunity, but it's not necessarily going to be right away or instantly. And I'm not going to expect the same from you. And every single time the guy goes, oh God, thank you. Cause I never know, is it too much? Is it too little? Is it this? I'm like, no,
that's
like,
awesome.
Can we just like have a nice, easy flow and just know like, hey, I've got work to do right now, or, hey, I'm, you know, at the gym, or whatever we're doing. I'm living my life. I'm not attached to my phone 24/7, and none of us are doing heart surgery, so no one needs instant answers on any of these things. And so I think like that's a really just nice piece of communication. And so oftentimes people make it about themselves. So when I get someone who doesn't text me back or hasn't called me back, I try not to take that personally, and I just go, that's okay. And it's my opportunity to also reach out another time, you know, and reach out again, because I do too. I get busy. I'll look at a message really quick and I'll be in like a space where I shouldn't have been looking at the message. And then I've read it and then I forget about it and I didn't circle back. And this is life. And so many of you out there are getting really offended by your people who probably really love you and care about you. And you're making meaning out of it that isn't what it actually means. And you're creating
Mm-hmm.
stories which aren't what they really mean. And I want to encourage you all for more peace, harmony in your own life as well as theirs. Like, give them the benefit of the doubt and don't always make it about yourself, because this is where we get caught up in our head and in those mental gymnastics that are just unnecessary and, you know, lead
I
us
love that.
down a bad
Oh
path.
my God.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like that's like a gold nugget. Like if you're dating, to have that conversation,
Yeah.
because that's why I don't want to date, because I don't want, like, the couple of times I've dipped my toe into that world, it's been like this, you know, message me kind of energy. Right. And it's like, I don't like that. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the push of that. I don't like the pressure of that. And so I just completely back off. Right.
Yes.
And I'm out. I've ghosted you. Now I've disappeared off the face of the earth. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I perhaps, you know, had that conversation and at the beginning, then you maybe, you know, you wouldn't have that, right?
Yeah, maybe it would be different. Yeah, because I'm also remembering, like, this is awkward for their end a lot of times too, right? Like, guys are just as nervous, especially when they don't know you and they're trying to make a good impression. And so with that, I will also say that I definitely believe in having a standard too, Michelle. So if your standard is, actually, I'm not giving you my number until I feel really safe and comfortable that, like, you're not going to blow me up, or that, you know, you're not going to write my number on the bathroom wall.
Right. Oh my God.
Whatever the reason is. And so oftentimes when I get that ask, especially when it's really like soon or really right away, I'll just go, you know what? I was like, at some point I may be comfortable enough to give you my number, but initially I would just love to just ask you a couple questions or just have an easy chat with you. And that helps me too. So if they're not open to that, then I'm like, no problem, because what's meant for me is not going to pass me by. So if you're passing me by, I'm not worried about it. And I think anytime I feel a pressure or like a red flag, that some of the pressures can definitely be a red flag for me, then those are the times where I for sure also step back and go, yeah, no, I mean, I shouldn't have a red flag this early in our interaction. And so it helps me weed through really quickly, like what's for me and what's not for me. And I never want to feel like I'm pulling teeth in a conversation either. I'm like, look, you should be able to converse with me just like I'm conversing with you. Let's just have this nice, easy flow and work on just being friends. There's no, I'm not trying to marry you tomorrow. Like, can we just, you know, we're hopeful. I get that. And can we take some of the pressure off and just enjoy the moment? And so I think those standards have really helped me, because then I don't acquiesce, right? I don't acquiesce to, oops. All right.
It's okay.
We're gonna wait a second, and the editor will edit this out for us.
Totally.
Give me 1 second. Hey. Nani. I know. I have my my ex's dogs. Oh. And so it just worked out that way. And they're usually so quiet and so good. But every now and then we just had a car pull in the driveway, and that's why. And normally we don't have deliveries on Friday, but it happens.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
2 seconds. I'm going to let them out.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, here we go.
Yay.
So talk to me about what is the best advice you've ever gotten around health and wellness?
Slow down. Like, seriously, the importance of rest. I did not understand how important rest and sleep were to your body. And I understand now that my body had become, over time, pretty much addicted to adrenaline and
Mm.
cortisol.
Okay.
And little fun fact, I used to play roller derby, right? So for 10 years, I played a very high impact, high intensity, very physical sport that functions a lot on adrenaline. And before that, I was into, other sports like skiing or, high intensity aerobics. I did a triathlon.
Wow.
And like, I didn't understand that your body requires deep rest. And I remember it was actually a client of mine. We're kind of going over numbers and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, tell me about this program so I can understand, how you're bringing in this money and stuff. And he was talking about how it's all about rest and sleep and like the regulation of your nervous system. And so then I started asking him questions about it. We totally got off on a sidetrack conversation. And I was like, really? Like, I thought, like you got to lose weight or get healthy. You got to lower your calories. You got to increase your heart rate. Like that's what you do. And he's like, for sure, those things matter. And for some people, especially women, as you age, cortisol and your adrenals are so important.
Yeah.
And your gut health. And he's like, and sleep is a huge component of this. And so for me, my health journey involved actually doing less than doing more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And slowing down rather than,
Then
going
speeding
out
up.
and running and stuff like that. Right. And
It's
the
that's
opposite.
so good. Yeah.
It's like the complete opposite than what I thought.
So many times I know that you hear people talk about like upregulating, but there's also the downregulating. And I think you just have to figure out for you and your body and your personality type, what works for you. Is it upregulating, which is going off and running or doing HIIT workouts, or is it sort of the other way, which is turning things down and turning down the volume? I've heard from a health expert how that more men should actually try to do yoga, because men are so often doing lots of like running and HIIT and lots of work, muscle training, and like yes to those things, but also the balance of like something that's a little slower and a little more mindful that actually causes them to slow everything down, because otherwise they're just busy in their head while they're being busy in their body. And that's a lot of busyness that feels like productivity. And it's a lot of dopamine hits, but it's kind of the wrong, you're still like not helping your body from a cortisol level, recover in the way that it should, because everything is constantly on a high and an upswing. And I think it's a gift when you can down regulate. My friends laugh at me because I'm one of those people who I will be in the middle. One of my favorite clients is a breathwork expert. And so that's what they integrate it with in everything that they do. And I've done so many of their breathwork sessions, but I have to say that every single time I fall asleep, because I get into the breath work and then we just get to a place and I completely I'm so relaxed in it that that's just what happens. When I go get a foot massage with my friend, where she laughs, she's like, Mary, every time she's like, we're not in that chair for 5 seconds. And the next thing you know, you're like already asleep. And I'm like, because I'm just so relaxed. It doesn't take long. Like,
That's so good.
And I appreciate that, right? I appreciate that my head hits the pillow, I'm out. So on those few times when I might have insomnia, then I'm like, oh, wow, the gift of sleep. It is a gift. It is a gift when we can actually just relax into life instead of, being constantly turned on and go and all the things. And I know for my own self, when I look at my own like human design, like I'm called to rest. And so I want to respect that about myself and my knowingness. And so people can say whatever they want, but I'm like, I know what's optimal for me. And I want to listen to that. And that's the space I want to be in. Cause I spent my years hustling and rolling over naps and trying to, plow through.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think, I've learned to listen to the signals from my body. right? Like even, so I just got back from a whitewater rafting through the Grand Canyon, right?
Ooh,
Now,
fun.
it was a lot of work, right? There was a lot of stuff going on, hiking and climbing waterfalls and all these things. And I came back and like straight into work, right? And last night I had dinner with my kids and then I sat on the couch and I kind of, put my head on a pillow and I was asleep. It was 7:30,
Mm.
right? And I woke up at about 8, right? Little half an hour nap. And I was like, God, I'm so tired. And I thought, you know what? Kind of have a bath and go to bed. Like,
Mm.
you just got to listen to your body. Like, your body is telling you what you need. But I think so often we just power through. We just push through. We're just like, yeah, but I got this other stuff, or I've got to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what works, like, it's great that you said, yourself, right? Or, your body. Like, I didn't know my body. And so I was doing all the things that worked for other people.
Yeah.
And they didn't work for me. And it took me a lot of trial and error to figure out what works for me and how to work with this body that I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So that I am healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I used to really beat myself up over these expectations that I would have around my body, expectations I'd have around how I'm supposed to feel. And I think that so oftentimes that I know I'm not the only one, that's for sure. And what's been beautiful is getting to a place where I'm really accepting of my body and I'm really accepting of, hey, not every day am I going to be like a spark plug. Like it's just not. Like I'm going to have some days where I'm way more mellow and way more grounded and way more just sort of really, really, really even keel versus excited to get up and zip up and go. And I honor the ebb and the flow of that energy and whatever shows up, and also my own ability to adjust my state and find ways to do that for myself if I need to have a little more of a pick me up. And also to know if I need to hermit a little bit and like being comfortable saying, I love all my friends. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And my answer is no right now because I need to actually just sit here. And they'll go, what? Instead of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I just need to sit here. And that's what I need to, that's what feels good for me and what will actually nourish me right now. So that the next time you call, I'll be ready to go and show up big for you and all that. But right now, like it's just understanding what we need and that the body is a gift. Like the body that I have is a gift. It's brought me through so much. When I got sick and I had cancer, I was like, wow. And at the same time, I realized like my body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's encapsulating this cancer so that it's not spreading. And all of that was true. And I came out the other side just going, oh, wow, thank you. Thank you. Because this body did that. And just the gratitude that I had around what I got, and just knowing that we're all different. Our makeup is different, we're a little bigger here, a little smaller here. And like, there's really not this like perfect shape or this whatever. And I'm like, I want to be able to like look at another human body and say, oh, that's beautiful in its own right in the way it is. And even if it's different than mine, and that's okay too. And that my body can still be beautiful in my own ways. And so I think getting older has helped me with that too. And understanding that like this marketing idea of being like super skinny is not like, it's not the reality of things. It's just a marketing message. And it's like, oh, how can I bat that away and just remember that,
Yeah. I think, when we talk about our bodies, right? Like I've lost 100 pounds, right? Because I became 100 pounds overweight, right? Through overworking and stress and all this stuff. And so it's taken me a while, and I've had to learn how my body needs to operate in the world. And then I started doing Pilates, and I love Pilates. I gained some weight, and I'm like, oh no. But I'm actually going down in dress size, right? And so I was like, okay, like, can we not worry about the scale, Michelle? Like, can we just go with how we feel? Like, does the dress size even matter at this point?
Mm,
Right? Like, can we
mm-hmm,
just be okay in how we feel in your body?
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's for sure a journey for me in that regard, because I have not had the healthiest relationship with food my entire
Mm,
life, from being way too skinny to being way too overweight,
mm.
and all the places in between. But it's like, can we be okay wherever we are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I had to really go back to my value system again, right? Like we were talking about confidence
Yeah,
on the show earlier. And part of me was like, well, I've actually always been pretty confident regardless. So that also makes me chuckle a little bit. And I go, okay, good. Well, that just tells me like that's just who I am. Like that's part of me, and I know that about me. Good. Yay, thumbs up. And where do I beat my own self up over my body image or some of that? And going back to my value system, I said, what's actually important? What's actually important to me is my quality of life. And when I think
mm,
about my quality of life, what does that actually break down to? It breaks down to I want to be able to go hiking when I'm in my 80s or my 90s. I want to still be able to hop up on a trail and walk it like a boss.
right,
And if I'm going to be able to do that, then what? Oh, it means then I want to have strong bones and a good amount of health. And I don't want to be so overweight that I can't be mobile. And I don't want to start having issues with my joints. So I'm going to eat better. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do the things that I know are going to help me have that quality of life. So once I could really break it down and just really reframe it for myself in all those ways, then I stopped the chatter of, well, I don't look like that girl, and so the boys aren't going to like me, because that's for sure where it
totally,
came from back, when I was younger and going through puberty and didn't know what
yeah,
I didn't know. And so now I'm like, oh, like none of that matters to me anymore, but instead it's, am I active and healthy? And like, I do my blood work, I do all my I know my numbers. Just like in finance, you want people to know their numbers. I believe that, like,
right,
as a human, I know my numbers, and I can look at that and go, yeah, like I'm going to give myself a little bit of a scorecard, and I want to live a little. Quality of life is also that I'm going to have a piece of cake sometimes, and
totally,
I like brownies, So it's
totally,
all those things too, and like, and I love to have brownies with my friends, and
yeah,
it's a whole thing. So I just laugh because it took me a long time to get there. It took me a really long
yeah,
time, and
me too,
I
me
don't know what it
too.
was about flipping the 40 switch on, but I got into my 40s and I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm shedding so much of the junk, and like you said, the shame, the guilt, all that stuff. I'm like, I have no room in my life for any of that. And so I'm
Yeah,
like, I want quality of life, and I'm going to live my life, which means I'm going to have cake. I'm also going to go work out. So, it's finding the right balance for me that has felt good for what works for me, and also just the appreciation of like, wow, I've got this body and I've got it for, God willing, another 40, 50 years. And so let's keep it going. Let's keep going so I
right.
can,
Oh,
do the things I want to do. Yeah.
that's so good. I have this
Yeah.
friend, her name's Carol, and she's 80, and
Mm,
we travel here, there, and everywhere, and we've been to amazing places, and she keeps going, right?
mm,
And I'm like, that's my goal, kind of thing, to be able to keep
yeah.
going like that, right? So
Yes.
that's why I eat the kinds of foods I eat. It's why I move my body the way I do.
Yeah.
It's no longer um, to weigh a certain weight or fit into a certain dress size. That's great. That's really nice, right? But it's like the longevity piece, like you said, the lifestyle, right?
Yes.
Like, I want to be able to, I don't know, hike up a waterfall
Yeah,
if I
totally.
want,
Totally.
right?
Yes. Yes. And I also realized that part of like my own, meaning making and the stories I was telling myself was around what I thought, like what I would think that another man would want. Would a man want me to look
Yeah.
like? Oh my gosh. And once I
Oh my
figured out
God,
that
me
that was where
too.
I was giving myself pressure, I was like, whoa, this is so gross right now. Like, what do I
Oh,
want? And I started to get really proud of putting on like my dating profiles, like, I am curvy and I'm
hmm,
owning all of that. I'm very curvy and I'm owning all of it. And it was really funny to me because I was a couple times I got a guy who was like, you don't look very curvy. And I was like, oh, You think I'm skinny? Like I was almost offended. I was like, this is having such the opposite effect right now. But what set me free, which was the oddest thing, but again, people come into our lives and teach us a lesson. And I really got the lesson. I actually dated a guy who said, oh, Mary, he goes, I really love curvy women. He's like, I actually love a little bit of back fat. And I love a little bit of like the arms. And I was like, wait, what? And so I had gone somewhere and lost some weight, and he noticed, and he goes, yeah, he goes, your butt's a little smaller. And I was like, oh, like, and it was really funny to me because I went, oh man, like the fact that this man just loves curves and he's loved my curves, that, you know, if I work out a little too much or something and they adjust, like that he notices, made me chuckle because I was like, this is having such the opposite, like I'm just mind blown, right? Because I think so often where I remember being in my 20s and being like hiding under the covers, like don't turn the lights off, you know?
Right.
Like, I was for sure. Oh, I am so body conscious. And then getting older, now I'm like, you know, I'll walk around free and naked, no problem, and not think twice about it. But it took a long time to get there. And so much of that was just embracing it and just being like, if you're going to love me, you're going to love all of me. And this is what you're getting. So that's been really freeing and really beautiful. And then I just came to find out, like, nobody cares as much as I thought they were going to care. They just don't. They don't. But in our mind, we make up the story that they do because we're fretting over it, or we're, you know, again, mental gymnastics over the story that's going on in our head. And that's really, you know, it's so freeing to be in that place where you just go, no, this is me and this is all of me. And like, look, again, what's meant for me, it's not going to pass me by. And that I
love that. I love that. I remind myself of that all the time. And, you know, similar to you, like, I spent a lot of years in comparison, like, oh, look at that guy, he's with her, I'm skinnier than her, or I'm more fit than her, or I got bigger boobs than her, like, why is he with her, kind of thing, right? And I'm like, oh my God, so much wasted time, Michelle. And I even find that I slip into it now, right? Where like, I'm not dating anyone, I'm not actively out there looking, but I've noticed guys, right? And there's been times where I've noticed a really good looking man and I think, what about me? Why I have that kind of guy? Like, what's she got that's so special? Kind of, and I'm like, no, Michelle, like, it's not about that, right? Like get out of that, like that comparison.
The comparison game. Oh, comparison game is
because you
brutal.
can't win that game at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a loser all day long. And you're right though. But part of that is recognizing it, right? Of being able to go, oh, I'm doing it right now. Let me stop myself.
Totally.
And,
right?
No, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, and I'm older too. So I'm like taking that into consideration. I was laughing. I was reading one of Betty White's books. There's actually a few of them if you've ever seen kind of like the autobiography type things. And I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was the very last one before she died. But she's making this comment about how, you know, as she's gotten older, she forgets because she'll meet a really good looking guy who'll be like 30. And in her mind, she's like, oh, he's so cute. I wonder if he, and then she forgets that she's like, you know,
oh my God, I love that.
I know. I loved it too. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be that old lady. Like that's 100% still.
I feel like I am
hitting
that
on
old
a
lady.
30-year-old.
I feel like I am. Oh my God.
I love it. Yeah. So that really made me chuckle. And I thought, yeah, it's true. Like sometimes we just were like, oh, I'm older than I was. And
totally
the game has changed just a little bit, but still, also a beautiful age. I think being in 40s, 50s, you can go
I love
down
it.
the ladder, you can go up the ladder. And so it's a really fun time. So I'm embracing it and enjoying it, you know, and when
me too,
when the partnership bell rings again, then I'll be ready for it. In the meantime, I'm just, you know, enjoying the journey.
Enjoying life.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Well, Michelle, thank you. It's been such a fun conversation today. Thank you for being so just open around, you know, relationships and friendships and body image, because those are such big ones for especially for us women. I'm not excluding you guys, but I'll tell you, women, we really get we get the hardest rap on it. I think even from, when I think about magazines, the Who Wore It Better, you don't see a bunch of men spread out on the page. It's always
No,
women.
you do not.
It's always the women. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like, that, the pressure is on. The pressure is on, even though in the bird world, it's the boys that have to work hard. They have to have the pretty feathers and they got to do the dance.
That's true, right?
So I just feel like some things are backwards sometimes, but we're also not birds. So I'm going to go with that. I know.
Right?
Amazing. Y'all, if you want to get in touch with Michelle, we have all of her social media handles. We have all of her information down in the comments and the show notes. So don't be shy. Get in touch. Do like and follow her. She's just a breath of fresh air and really encouraging and just a powerhouse female. So thank you, Michelle, for being you. I appreciate you. And we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Mary.
Absolutely.